Question 1. To illustrate this point, Maria, a senior project manager at WebNova Inc., is tasked with overseeing the website overhaul for a global client. The client wants the project delivered in 6 weeks, but Maria knows that certain deliverables such as accessibility testing and localization will take at least 4 weeks alone. Her team is pressuring her to approve a compressed schedule to impress the client and potentially secure future work. Maria is that skipping proper quality control can jeopardize compliance with international accessibility standards and damage user trust. What should Maria do in this situation? A. Proceed with the compressed schedule, but include a post-launch patch cycle to handle accessibility. B. Push back on the timeline, provide a revised project plan that includes all required standards. C. Remove accessibility from the scope temporarily and revisit it if the client requests it later. D. Ask the developers to work overtime and skip the formal testing phase to meet the deadline. Answer. Correct answer. B. Push back on the timeline, provide a revised project plan that includes all required standards. Explanation. Project management ethics and PMI code of ethics dictate that quality and compliance must never be compromised to satisfy unrealistic timelines. According to BLUA 2.1 guidelines and ISO 9241-210 human-centered design, accessibility is not optional, it is legal. Ethical obligation, especially for global clients. Maria must communicate risks transparently and offer feasible schedule. Options A, C, and D violate principles of sustainable planning and risk long-term cost escalations or lawsuits. Question 2. From a practical standpoint, which of the following best describes how a Class C IP address range is typically used in small to medium business (SMB) networking scenarios? A. It provides public IP addresses to allow unrestricted access across the Internet. B. It assigns IP addresses across continents using EGP routing policies. C. It facilitates local subnetting with up to 254 usable host addresses. D. It reserves private addresses for secure government routing only. Answer. Correct answer. C. It facilitates local subnetting with up to 254 usable host addresses. Explanation. Class C IP address ranges e.g. 192.168.0.024 are often used in SMB LAN environments due to the small number of host addresses. 282 equals 254 PRFC 1918. This range is part of private address space. Option A misleads. These are not inherently public. B applies to DGP, but Class C isn't DGP specific. D incorrectly ties the address class to government networks, so those typically use secured routing protocols, not specific classes. Question 3. Contrary to popular belief, encrypting data during transmission is not enough for total security. Tom, an online banking platform developer, implemented SAELS encryption for login pages. However, users still report phishing attacks that mimic the site and steal credentials. Which additional security control would be most effective in addressing this issue? A. Implement digital certificates with extended validation. B. Remove TLS as phishing can bypass it. C. Install a local firewall on each user machine. D. Set cookies to HTTP-only mode to reduce phishing. Answer. Correct answer A. Implement digital certificates with extended validation. Explanation. SSL certificates help users distinguish authentic sites from phishing ones by verifying legal entity identity in the browser bar. Paquet Browser Forum guidelines certs undergo stricter validation and discourage phishing. TLS alone doesn't verify the site's legitimacy. Option B is incorrect. LA is still essential. C shifts the burden to users without solving phishing. D helps prevent XSS, not phishing via domain impersonation. Question 4. While examining a web page layout issue, Greg notices that the element styling is being overridden by another rule. Even though his CSS is correctly linked, he's using 3 different CSS files and some elements have inline styles. What is the most likely reason Greg's styles are being ignored? A. CSS does not allow styling of text. B. Inline styles override external style sheet rules due to cascade order. C. External style sheets cannot affect block level elements. D. The browser does not support styling without JavaScript. Answer. Correct answer. B. Inline styles override external stylesheet rules due to cascade order. Explanation: according to the CSS cascade algorithm point 1 section 6, styles are applied in order of importance. Inline styles override external stylesheets unless important is used. Inline styles come last in the cascade chain and thus win unless explicitly overwritten. A, C, and D are incorrect. Is block level tag fully supported in HTML and CSS? Question 5. The predominant theory suggests that dynamic validation of user inputs is crucial to modern web forms. Gina created a form using JavaScript to validate email addresses. However, users are submitting invalid formats despite the script being present, which is the most probable cause of the issue. A. The JavaScript function is blocked by SSL. B. Users disable JavaScript or bypassed client-side validation. C. The form needs to be hosted on a subdomain. D. Email validation must be handled by THE. Answer. Correct answer. B. Users disable JavaScript or bypassed client-side validation. Explanation: client-side validation with JavaScript improves UX but is not a security mechanism. According to OWASP secure coding guidelines, all client-side input checks must be repeated server-side, as client scripts can be bypassed, disabled, or modified. A, C, and D are irrelevant to validation reliability. Question 6. Under the assumption that a company wants to secure communication between their e-commerce website and customers, which combination of tools is most appropriate? A. TLS for encryption and digital certificates for identity verification. B. ETP for secure file transfer and public keys for login. HEP for encryption and HTML validation for credentials. D. ENS for redirecting users and MAC filtering for authentication. Answer. Correct answer A. TLS for encryption and digital certificates for identity verification. Explanation: TLS transport layer security encrypt HTTP traffic to prevent eavesdropping and tampering, while digital certificates X.509 prove the identity of the SIR. RFC 5280. B. Confuses login with file transfer. C. Is insecure. HTTP is not encrypted. D. Misunderstanding: NSA and MAC filtering serve different roles. Question 7. Based on the information, Kevin, a freelance designer, reused stock images marked non-commercial use only in paid client website. The client was later contacted by the image owner threatening legal action. Which ethical and legal principle did Kevin most likely violate? A. The Digital Millennium Copyright Act, DOA. B. Fair use under U.S. copyright law. C. Public domain doctrine. D. Patent protection laws for images. Answer. Correct answer A. The Digital Millennium Copyright Act, DEA. Explanation: DSEA enforces digital copyright law, protecting creators from unauthorized distribution or reuse. Kevin's use of non-commercial image in commercial context violates usage terms. Fair use. B. Doesn't apply to commercial reuse without transformation. C. Doesn't apply. Stock images aren't public domain. D. Is irrelevant. Patents are inventions, not artwork. Question 8. To determine whether a web designer has optimized images effectively for a responsive website, which of the following criteria is most relevant? A. All images are in BMP format to preserve pixel data. B. Images are embedded as PDFs to ensure cross-platform support. C. File size, dimensions, and format match display needs. D. Only one image is used site-wide to reduce network calls. Answer. Correct answer C. File size, dimensions, and format match display needs. Explanation: responsive design requires using appropriately sized and formatted images. JPEG for photo, PNG for transparent, WEI lies on responsive images. Recommend or SRC set for adaptive rendering. A. BMP is bulky. B. PDFs on image formats. D. Compromises UX and layout. Question 9. From a historical standpoint, what is the core function of the domain name system DNS in Internet infrastructure? A. Assigning MAC addresses to IP addresses. B. Allocating memory addresses for web servers. C. Translating domain names into IP addresses. D. Encrypting messages across different protocols. Answer. Correct answer C. Translating domain names into IP addresses. Explanation: DNS translates human-readable domains like google.com into IP addresses, e.g. 142.250.190.78, enabling browser-server communication. As defined in RFC 1035, ENS is a distributed hierarchical naming system. A and B. Misrepresent networking layers. D. Conflates DNS with encryption protocols like TS. Question 10. By evaluating the usefulness of XML in modern web applications, which of the following is a key advantage of using XML? A. It provides browser-specific rendering instructions. B. It stores and transports structured data in a platform-independent format. C. It compresses binary media like video and audio. D. It replaces HTML elements in dynamic websites. Answer. Correct answer. B. It stores and transports structured data in a platform-independent format. Explanation: XML extensible markup language. PWC recommendation is designed to transport and store structured data. It is human-readable, supports validation ESSD, and is platform-neutral. A is for ESSDS. C is new XML's purpose. D is false. XML complements, not replace HTML. Question 11. With respect to stakeholder management, Natalie is managing a web migration project for a non-profit organization. Several internal stakeholders are frustrated because they were not included in early requirements gathering, and now the site lacks vital donation features. Natalie insists she followed standard development practice, yet key users feel alienated. Which of the following project management mistakes most likely contributed to this issue? A. Failing to conduct a full risk assessment before starting development. B. Not properly engaging stakeholders during project initiation. C. Overestimating resource availability for hosting the site. D. Poorly defining DNS entries during server migration. Answer. Correct answer. B. Not properly engaging stakeholders during project initiation. Explanation: stakeholder engagement is a foundational project management principle outlined in PMBOK Project Management Body of Knowledge, and imprints are. Early involvement ensures alignment of business needs. Natalie's mistake wasn't technical like D, but managerial. A is important but not the core issue. C relates to resources, not people. Ignoring stakeholders leads to misaligned deliverables and lack of ownership. Question 12. When considering multiple style declarations across inline styles, internal blocks, and external styler sheets, which of the following statements most accurately reflects how the browser applies them? A. External styles always override inline styles due to specificity rules. B. Internal styles have higher specificity than inline styles. C. Inline styles take precedence unless important is used elsewhere. D. Specificity only matters if CSS is embedded using JavaScript. Answer. Correct answer. C. Inline styles take precedence unless important is used elsewhere. Explanation: CSS specificity hierarchy as document PWC gives highest priority to inline styles, followed by internal, then external styles. However, the important declaration can override specificity if used. A and B misrepresent how specificity works. D is irrelevant. JavaScript doesn't alter CS rules unless explicitly programmed to. Question 13. The foundation of secure web browsing is built on trust models. Cameron, a systems administrator, set up which ET sets up, but users receive browser warnings about insecure connections. Upon inspection, he used a self-signed certificate for SAELS. Why is this causing security alerts in browsers? A. Self-signed certificates use outdated hashing algorithms. B. Browsers require DSEC for certificate validation. C. The certificate was not issued by a trusted certificate authority. D. The TLS version used is deprecated across all browsers. Answer. Correct answer. C. The certificate was not issued by a trusted certificate authority. Explanation: self-signed certificates aren't trusted by default because browsers rely on a trust chain involving certificate authorities. CAS per X.509 and PKIC standards are FC 5280. A may be true but isn't the root cause. B. DSEC is not required for BATTS validation. D. May raise warnings but not this specific trust alert. Question 14. Among the various user input handling mechanisms, which method offers the most secure and effective way to validate form input on a banking website? A. Client-side JavaScript validation to improve performance by HTML fields to restrict values. C. Server-side validation with sanitation and encoding. D. Capture verification to block automated bots. Correct answer. C. Server-side validation with sanitation and encoding. Explanation. OWASP secure coding practices prioritize server-side validation because client-side methods, JavaScript HTML attributes, can be bypassed. Sanitizing input to prevent SQL injection or XSS, and encoding output are core principles. Capture D adds a layer of protection against bots but not input security. Question 15. One might argue that distributed denial of service (DDoS) attacks remain a critical risk to e-commerce infrastructure. Sam's retail site becomes unresponsive during peak traffic. Logs reveal thousands of requests per second from different IPs. What is the most effective immediate action Sam can take? A. Reboot the web server to clear session memory. B. Update DNS records to secondary server. C. Deploy rate limiting and traffic filtering using CDN or WAF. D. Switch the site protocol for AT to GTP temporarily. Correct answer. C. Deploy rate limiting and traffic filtering using a WAF. Explanation. CNS and web application firewalls. WAFs can detect and mitigate EDOS patterns by rate limiting, geofiltering, and blocking malicious IPs. According to NIST SP 80061-2, incident response should focus on containment and mitigation first. A, B, and D are reactive or insecure solutions. Question 16. As a result of new legal compliance reviews, Ellen's development team is tasked with updating client website to be accessible to visually impaired users. Which of the following is the best action to improve accessibility compliance? A. Use color-coded indicators instead of text labels to save space. B. Rely solely on JavaScript to create dynamic labels and interactions. C. Apply area roles and provide alt text for all visual elements. D. Ensure animations are prioritized to improve user engagement. Correct answer. C. Apply area roles and provide alt text for all visual elements. Explanation alluded to point 1 and Section 508 of the Rehabilitation Act US mandate that content be perceivable, operable, understandable, and robust. Area roles help screen readers interpret dynamic content, and alt attributes describe images. A, B, and D reduce accessibility or create barriers. Question 17. Throughout the course of domain resolution, what is the primary role of a recursive resolver? A. To authenticate user credentials and forward them to ISPs. B. To initiate and manage the full lookup path for a domain query. C. To assign IP addresses dynamically to domain names. D. To host the original authoritative domain zone records. Correct answer. B. To initiate and manage the full lookup path for a domain query and explanation. A recursive resolver queries root TLD and authoritative ENS servers on behalf of the client. It returns the final IP address and caches results. This function is outlined in RFC 10, 34, and 35. A is authentication, not resolution. C. Refer EP. D applies to authoritative ENS servers, not resolvers. Question 18. In comparison with standard images used in desktop web design, which format and practice are ideal for optimizing images for responsive mobile websites? A. Use BMP format with full resolution and CS zoom. B. Use large JPEGs with fixed pixel widths for all devices. C. Implement SOC set and sizes with web format for adaptive loading. D. Host images in PDFs to avoid pixelation on Retina displays. Correct answer. C. Implement SRC set and sizes with web format for adaptive loading. Explanation. Web offers excellent compression with minimal loss. Combining it with HTML SRC set and sizes lets browsers load the best image for screen resolution. The UWE recommended approach for mobile optimization. A, B, and D to grade performance or limit flexibility. Question 19. Examining the consequences of malformed on A web server, what vulnerability is most likely to rise if URLs are not properly validated? A. SQL injection HTML forms. B. Directory traversal attacks. C. JavaScript execution via cookies. D. TLS handshake failures. Answer. Correct answer. B. Directory traversal attacks. Explanation. When URLs include patterns and are not sanitized, attackers may access files outside the web route, leading to directory traversal. According to OWASP Top 10 at 2021, this can expose config files and credentials. A is unrelated to URLs. C relates to cookies. D refers to encryption negotiation, not file access. Question 20. Taking into account modern web APIs, what is a primary reason developers increasingly prefer JSON or XML for data interchange? A. JSON enforces strict data typing and validation through schemas. B. JSON integrates better with JavaScript-based front-end frameworks. C. JSON compresses media formats like images and video more efficiently. D. JSON supports encryption with an SALS. Answer. Correct answer. B. JSON integrates better with JavaScript-based front-end frameworks. Explanation. JSON JavaScript object notation is natively supported in JavaScript, making it ideal for modern front-end apps, React, Vue, Angular. JSON is less verbose than XML and easier to parse. XML has schemad validation, A, but that's not JSON's focus. C is incorrect. JSON is not for media compression. D is false. Encryption is handled by ES. Question 21. With the advent of e-commerce APIs, Victor deployed a secure microservice for processing transactions. Is logs show that some clients fail to establish a connection, while others downgrade to less secure cipher suites. Which configuration most likely contributes to this vulnerability? A. UHEP instead of ITES with ITS 1.3. B. Allowing TLS 1.0 and weak cipher suites in the server configuration. C. Having self-signed certificates instead of show-on-signed ones. D. Deploying public key encryption with the SSL certificates. Answer. Correct answer. B. Allowing TLS 1.0 and weak cipher suites in the server configuration. Explanation. Allowing deprecated protocols like TLS 1.0 and weak ciphers, e.g. RC, DES increases downgrade and myth and risks. NIST SB 80052 Everin 2 and OAKS TLS guidelines recommend enforcing TLS 1.2 plus only with strong ciphers. A is insecure but unrelated to cipher negotiation. C is outdated but show-on is already deprecated. D is nonsensical without context VT. Question 22. The general consensus is that defining clear roles within a web development team prevents inefficiencies. In a mid-sized digital agency, Melissa handles creating user interface designs and prototyping while Aaron focuses on writing HTML and JavaScript. What roles do Melissa and Aaron most accurately represent? A. Melissa is a back-end developer, Aaron is a network engineer. B. Melissa is a graphic designer, Aaron is a software architect. C. Melissa is a UX designer, Aaron is a front-end developer. D. Melissa is a car analyst, Aaron is a systems administrator. Answer. Correct answer. C. Melissa is a UX designer, Aaron is a front-end developer. Explanation. Melissa's focus on interface design aligns with the user experience UX designer role, while Aaron's task of writing client-side code aligns with front-end developer responsibilities. Pursue curriculum and job role taxonomy. Their titles reflect complementary functions. Other options misrepresent roles. Question 23. Upon closer examination, which of the following best describes the role of a client within the client-server model used in web applications? A. A centralized server that manages network routing protocols. B. A local device that initiates requests and receives responses from servers. C. A system that redirects domain requests to email servers. D. A controller responsible for handling TCP/IP packet prioritization. Answer. Correct answer. B. A local device that initiates requests and receives responses from servers. Explanation. In the client-server model, the client initiates communication, e.g., a browser requesting a web page, and the server responds. This is defined in the IF architecture. RFC 1122A refers to a router. C. Confuse DNS with email. D. Mixes layers of OSI networking not directly related to client roles. Question 24. Examining the consequences of unethical data collection, an analytics team captures location data of users without explicit opt-in on a retail app. Later, they share this information with third parties. Which law or principle is most likely being violated? A. The principle of confidentiality under the DSEA, e.g. DO's requirement for informed consent before processing personal data. C. Fair use under U.S. copyright law. D. XML schema regulation on metadata handling. Answer. Correct answer. B. GDPR's requirement for informed consent before processing personal data. Explanation. GDPR Article 6 and Recital 32 requires explicit consent before collecting personal data, especially location-based data. Failure to do so constitutes a violation and could result in legal penalties. A is about digital content. C is unrelated to privacy. D is not a privacy law at all. Question 25. To better understand Smanky HTML structure, which of the following best describes the use of the tag A? Groups unrelated links under one navigation menu. B. Defines standalone, self-contained content meant for reuse. C. Applies CS grid styling to complex layouts. D. Represents metadata such as author or published date. Answer. Correct answer. B. Defines standalone, self-contained content meant for reuse. Explanation. The tag is a Smanky HTML element used for blog posts, forum threads, or news entries that are self-contained. IBML list standard. Articles should be independently distributable. A refers to. C relates to styling, not structure. D aligns with or. Question 26. Historically speaking, which of the following differentiate HEE or HEP? The technical level. HEE is symmetric encryption and HEE is public keys. But HEP sends headers in binary ATS to space encoding. Say ATS at SALS to encrypt communication over EEP. HEP prevents caching. HEPS allows full cache control. Answer. Correct answer. TSALS encrypt communication over ECP. Explanation. HE is equal to RFC 2818. It encrypts request responses, securing headers, cookies, and form data. It uses ECP as its transport layer. A confuses encryption types. TLS is both symmetric and asymmetric. B is false. D is inaccurate. Both support caching via headers. Question 27. In response to evolving API design needs, JSON has replaced XML in many modern RESTful APIs. Why is JSON considered more efficient? A. It compresses media files and documents like zip. B. It allows schema enforcement at the database layer. C. Its syntax is lightweight and directly usable by JavaScript. D. It includes style definitions using CSS. Answer. Correct answer. C. Its syntax is lightweight and directly usable by JavaScript. Explanation. JSON JavaScript object notation is native to JavaScript, enabling faster client-side processing without transformations. Its lightweight structure reduces bandwidth and parsing overhead. As per ECMA 404, JSON offers simplicity over XML. A and D are incorrect. B refers to databases, not data exchange format. Question 20. Through the lens of secure communication, asymmetric encryption is critical in public key infrastructure (PKI). Which statement best explains its primary advantage? A. It allows data to be encrypted and decrypted using a shared key. B. It enables one key to encrypt data and a separate key to decrypt it. C. It is faster than symmetric encryption for large data transfers. D. It hashes data instead of encrypting it for security. Answer. Correct answer. B. It enables one key to encrypt data and a separate key to decrypt it. Explanation. Asymmetric encryption uses A key pair public-private where one key encrypts and the other decrypts is underpin SALS. Digital signatures and HEs is slower than symmetric for large data, hence often used to exchange symmetric keys. AC and D reflect misunderstandings. Question 29. In a modern context of responsive web design, why should images be compressed and scaled properly? A. To eliminate metadata and reduce server CPU usage. B. To improve page load times and enhance mobile user experience. C. To prevent browser memory overflow and JavaScript conflicts. D. To enforce strict copyright tracking with EXIF data. Answer. Correct answer. B. To improve page load times and enhance mobile user experience. Explanation. Compressed and scaled images are vital for performance. Google Lighthouse WC best practices stress optimizing for speed and accessibility. Proper formats. Web compress PPNGs, reduce bandwidth and bounce rates. A and D are marginal benefits. C is incorrect. The images don't conflict with JS. Question 30. The implications of inadequate scope control during a web project can be costly. During a content management system upgrade, Annika keeps accepting new features from stakeholders without adjusting timeline or resources. What is this situation an example of? A. Version control mismanagement. B. Agile sprint planning. C. Scope creep due to lack of change control. D. Gantt chart optimization. Answer. Correct answer. C. Scope creep due to lack of change control. Explanation. Scope creep occurs when features or deliverables expand beyond the original agreement without formal approval. Per PMI's PMBOK, this leads to missed deadlines and budget overruns. They relates to code management. B is a planning model, not a cause. D is a project tracking tool.